I believe that everyone has a to-do someday list. So, how do you clear that out? That's our question today. Hi, I'm Paul Allen Clifford from Trinity Digital Media, and I don't know about you, but I had, for the longest time, a list of things in the back of my head that I wanted to someday accomplish. I wanted to someday write a book. I wanted to someday start jogging. I wanted to someday start recording updates and videos for YouTube. I wanted to someday start streaming. I wanted to someday do all of these things. Right now, I can say I've started all of them. So, how did I empty my to do someday list so that it's a I'm doing it right now list? Well, there are a couple of things. First off, I recognize I'm not going to live forever. I know everyone knows they're not going to live forever, but stop and think about all the people that you know who thought they had more time than they did. I have an uncle, and he's married to my aunt, of course, and he just died. He was 81. My aunt is in pretty bad shape, so we really thought that she was going to go first. In fact, talking to his son, my cousin, at the funeral, it sounded like even though he had some health problems, a day beforehand, 2 days beforehand, a week before he died, it seemed like he was just going to live for a good long time. He was in great health. Now, they knew he had congestive heart failure, but he'd lived with that for some time, so it just didn't seem all that pressing. And yet, they took him home the day before. He was talking to people, everything like that. Then it looked as though he just laid down to take a nap and died. Another friend of mine named John. John is in his mid to late 50s, not a super old guy. Now that I'm almost 40, really not an old guy. And I'd see him at church from time to time. We used to be in a life group together, and he'd always say hi. Well, he also had some health problems. He had something where he would have seizures from time to time. Well, recently he had his last seizure, and a couple days after no one had seen him, they found him in his apartment. He died. So consider that. These were both people that everyone around them thought, oh, they'll be around for at least 10 more years, maybe longer, who knows? You're not guaranteed tomorrow. So that's one piece of motivation. The other is just hard drive space. As I was beginning to record this, I found that the card that I'm recording this on my DSLR, was full. So I dumped a bunch of pictures from a family vacation onto the hard drive of my laptop, and it is telling me right now that it's almost full. Well, our minds are kind of like that same thing. We've got only so much space, and when you always have something in there, it takes up space from doing other things. Now, some people will tell you just write that on a to-do list and you don't have to think about it anymore. But I think a better strategy is to do it. You see, I'd wanted to write a book for years before I did it. And then I found it very freeing that I no longer had that taking up space in my head. I wanted to start jogging for years before I did it. And then once I did it, I found it very freeing that it was no longer taking up space in my head. I wanted to make videos for years, but now that I've done it, I find it very freeing that it's not taking up space in my head. I have the ability to come up with new ideas that I might want to do in the future, but I feel very, very satisfied that I'm in process on all of these things. So there's an amount of satisfaction that comes just from taking action on the things that you've been planning on doing for quite some time. The things you think, well, someday I'll get to that. Make today that someday. What if you could start and you could do these things that you know you were made to do? You were designed to make this difference, and I believe that you were. What if you could do those things and somehow, in doing them, you go out and change eternity?